And welcome back to Wednesday Trekyards Mission Briefing, the review analysis first look show. Stuart, over to you.
We're looking at something kind of cool today. This is something we kind of stumbled across, and we thought it was worth taking a gander at. This is basically a motion picture era Romulan Battlecruiser, which is a nice tie-in between, when they got the Klingon tech back in 2267, and merging between that and what we see in TNG. So I really enjoy this thing. This is cool.
It is worth saying this was suggested by Keith Harper, and I'd never seen it. It is what it says on the tin. But I want to hear your thoughts, because Stuart, you have a more unique perspective on this. I was brought up, I'm actually as old as DS9, which is weird. But I from 3 was watching TOS, and then just watched all the shows, obviously ASO broadcast, like whenever they're in England, like out of order, out of sequence. But I knew the entire franchise, and I watched Enterprise Live, and I watched some of the movies in the cinema. So it's always been like, this is canon because it's just continuing canon, And now we sort of do all the stuff we do. You, on the other hand, have a different sort of upbringing, and this sort of stuff was your canon for a while. So why is this important? What is it? And would this have fit for your little stewy mind, as Doug would say, back in the day when this was probably released in like the late 80s? It's obviously post TNG because of the idea of the Dodex. But sorry, what do you think? Go.
Well, first of all, I think this is probably from one of the newer IDW comics, maybe 2014-ish kind of thing. I think it's probably from one of the Romulan Schism books, which is done by John Byrne. Anyway, I couldn't quite find where it was from, but I kind of get that vibe from this. And yes, this totally fits in with a cross between the movie era Katinga and the TNG Doderidex. This would have fit perfectly in my FASA-esque mind timeline. I kind of like the idea of the Romulans and Klingons working together, and the Romulans using Klingon tech and vice versa.
It is saying this is specifically a Romulan ship in the comic, so this is not, that influences the takeover. Honestly, the amount of Klingon tech, which is almost all of it, it's clearly a Klingon Romulan ship, but no, it's a Romulan Klingon ship, which I think is interesting. Like for me, obviously you live in a world of kit bashers, as same pieces, slightly different form. That's fine, but this has not been changed enough. Like it's obviously they took one of their, that's the thing. It's obviously later than the technology exchange, so they took a D7, upgraded it to a Katinga style, kept an old boom, and then kept the nacelles but changed them, and then put pieces around it. Like, it's a weird, there's a lot of years between all those things. Like, it would be more original if it's a Romulan-y version.
I don't see that. I mean, if you go to the next picture of the view from the top, here you get more of a much more Romulan build out of it. It looks like a Klingon B-10 boom, like a bigger battleship boom than a D7. And then the back part seems like it's mainly constructed by the Romulans, using larger Klingon engines. And I really like that. I mean, it's a good marrying of the two technologies. You're right, it doesn't have quite as Romulan a feel as I would have liked, especially considering it does look like a new construction.
Yeah, it's like a 68-32. It's pretty slanty on one side.
Yeah.
But still.
Yeah. I think they could have done a little bit better job with that, even the coloring and redefining a few shapes, but still have that Klingon feel. That being said, I still really like it.
Yeah, because you mentioned the engines, but really the Deridex engines are quite similar in shape to the Katinga D7s. So I see this as more of as what they've taken from the D7, the Katinga is obviously the front and the boom, and then the engine, the impulse drive module. But I do like the amount of layers and levels it's now got. I'm trying to think of function though, because it really, okay. Side question: do you think it should have connected like the Deridex does to the bottom bit?
Yes. That's the one thing about this front view that kind of throws me off. There should, even if they kept the boom straight out the front of the top part like that, they should have a connecting thing down to the center part at the bottom at least, or have segmented necks, booms that come out and kind of attach to the main boom or the head of the boom in the middle. I think would be way better than this. This does that front view looks very Klingon. I mean, one quick Photoshop and it's a Klingon ship. Just take out that bottom part.
Yes, I will say like one. If you recall, for the Romulan War web series, I co-designed a Romulan War era Battlecruiser ship thing. Instructions were to make it D7 shaped, but I did as much Romulan to it as I could. I do think if they had replaced the obviously Klingon section with a beak, not as dramatic as the Deredex, but a beak, have that protruding angular shape come down, that would then lead nicely into the bottom. Maybe not smoothly, but the shapes would align, and then you've got those 3 connection points. I think that might... I mean, it depends how far away everything is, because the views have a slightly different perspective feel to them. Like, the top view, it feels as if it's quite a space, but the front view feels a lot more... But if you look at the deck size, it's like, 28 decks of, clearing, so that would be quite an odd connecting point, but I do think that would add to it, and having a beak would say, okay, they took the best bits of the D7 and they Romulanized it, as opposed to they took a D7 and they built a Romulan around it. Does that make sense?
Probably. Just and looking at that view from the front again, a little more detailed in the other illustration. That centerpiece at the bottom, I would assume is some kind of large weapon pod or something. Maybe 2 plasma torpedo launchers on each side there by the looks of it, which would make perfect sense coming down from the engines. Perhaps they funnel warp plasma down to the plasma emitters there.
Well, it becomes a roll bar, just stuck at the bottom.
Yeah.
Maybe it's... I mean, we know in one of these panels it says the Excelsior, so it's that era. I mean, could this not be a... Hey, the Reliant's quite a cool shape. Let's do this but our own way.
Yeah, instead of a photon torpedo launcher, it'll be a plasma torpedo launcher forward and aft. Ha! And because, we want to be different, let's put it on the bottom. Screw the Federation.
And that's how the Deredex was born.
Exactly.
Stealing the Miranda but doing their own way. No, I agree. Yeah, two big weapon pods, maybe a phaser in between, because phaser tech's reasonably simple, or just multiple little emitters of pulse weapons like we see in Enterprise. I'd buy that totally. I mean, we know in the Deredex that's all livable area, but also it's a much bigger ship, so those spaces are huge, and there's transporters between 2 sections and such. Another
thing that would work here is that pod being like a shuttle bay. Shuttle pod bay. That would work perfectly fine there as well, instead of a weapons pod.
Or if this was... Again, if they had... Because the Deredex is huge. Therefore, we know they upscaled through the eras. If this was a bit more original, if the boom was different, which it is, but a bit more different, if the front bit especially was different and the scaling was bigger, imagine that bottom module could be a bird of prey launcher, the classical TOS version or the current upgrade. It just like in TOS, it wasn't warp capable; it had to be taken by a mothership. This is one of those said motherships of the next gen, not next gen, the next generation of technology ship. But what do you think? Is it like a ship? This ship carries a Defiant in battle. It's that sort of idea. What do you think?
Yeah, that'd be a great idea, but I don't think it's that big.
That's what I mean. But if you did upscale it, because that's not a huge ship compared to Deredex, like you have that freedom to say, let's upscale, or maybe obviously they can make a smaller version of that ship. That doesn't need to be that big. More weapons. But to take that, because I mean, why would they have shuttles? Like, the Romulans have very specific missions and very specific, and this is obviously a warship.
Well, they might be fighters like the Scorpion fighter we see in Nemesis.
But fighters aren't. I mean, fighters are so inefficient.
We've talked about that, yeah. But
and the Romulans, I mean, okay. In the Romulan War, the web series, Mark has said they have Riemann suicide fighters. They're not suicide because they are going to commit suicide, but they don't care if they come back.
Yeah, they're expendable.
Yeah, and so I kind of buy that, and especially for drawing fire, every phaser blast you can draw from the capital, and Riemann's were a dime a dozen because you bred them for slavery, blah blah blah, whatever. So I can kind of buy that. Bit dark, and he laughs, but I do like the neck area. I actually want to see. I guess we go back to the top view again. I actually want to see the ship without the bottom bit.
It'd be easy enough to do, like I said. A Photoshop would be,
because I think it's kind of like a smoothed out, bulked up, kind of refined Klingon ship actually.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I really kind of dig the extra details, the shapes, the nice angles. Like, I actually really dig it. And the double engine module at the back, like, it's been doubled. If you look at the back, the front view, it's clearly just two. Like, I really kind of dig it as a Klingon ship.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Anybody, you want to Photoshop it? You probably could in 2 seconds.
Yep.
But yeah, I think it would definitely fit in with just if you took that bottom part away, I would not even think Romulan. Even with the curves of those upper pylons, it still looks too Klingon.
Yep. It's just a nice refined one, yeah.
And even the bottom picture there with the bridge, it's got the big struts in it like the Klingons have. It's very much a Klingon-esque bridge. So
well, they didn't change the bridge bits, so
yeah.
I want to see a back view. I want to see. It was drawn only in 2 views, but I do think the top view, they've actually changed enough to add some depth to the shapes. It's just sad how simple the initial shape was, that even when you're changing it, that core shape still remains, because it's just boom, front, boom, bit, wings, wing, nacelle. There isn't much, but I really dig the changes and give it a beak, give it that aggression, link it in, then it's a Romulan ship, teeny change, but yeah.
I think here they really wanted to highlight that Romulans using Klingon tech thing. And,
yes.
It works. It does work on some levels. On other levels, like we said, it's not refined enough to be Romulan, I don't think.
But I saw it and I shared it with you and you're like, ooh, it was an instant reaction. I'm like, yeah, that actually kind of works. And it's nice because it is a kit bash, but it actually really isn't, because everything in the body is actually different. It's super familiar. So it's actually not a kit bash. It's a redesigned classic with the Deredex framing, which is why I think it works so well. It is a unique blend, and so I give it bonus cred for that. So good job.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really enjoyed looking at this because the comics have some really interesting ships for sure. Even just trying to find where this one was from, flipping through some of my comics that I have.
Do this on the page. Why would the paper move?
Well, I do have them on my iPad as well, but
yeah.
And it's funny you said that, actually. This is a funny story. I'm just going to throw out there. You can keep it in if you want or not. The other day, one of the newspapers was delivered to our house, just the Londoner, it's called. And on the front page, there was a little article, and it says to continue reading, see page 5. I tried to click that on the paper. Anyway. But yeah, as I was scrolling through, we saw some interesting comics.
Ladies and gentlemen, our captain right there.
We saw quite a few interesting designs just scrolling through these, flipping through these comics, looking through these comics. There we go. So we were thinking of maybe doing some look at some comic ships in the future,
or at least the better ones. I mean, this one was a cool one. Some of the interesting ones, because I mean, they kind of had a bit more carte blanche, and there's a lot of comics, a lot of era. And what's great about the older ones is that they had so little reference available, even of the famous stuff, so they get a lot of proportions wrong. And to be fair, a lot of them just didn't care as much. Like, it wasn't about, I mean, are you really going to spend the extra 2 hours to draw on one page it perfect every time? There's deadlines happen, so it's really interesting to see something like, wow, that's meant to be an Excelsior. Which I'm sure Stuart is happy about in certain examples.
Well, and that's what I appreciate about the IDW comics. They do kind of step up their game as far as drawing this stuff goes. It's got more quality control than the stuff in the 80s and 90s did, as far as comments go. So.
And so my closing note is, guys, if you want to build the ship in 3D, and let us know, we'd love to see it, you know, do a bit more interesting depth and do maybe some angled renders and just all that good stuff. I think we've got some...
That'd be awesome.
Stuff to talk about, for sure.
Yeah. All right, guys. Hope you liked this video. Look forward to more coming with comic book ships in the future because they are fun to look at. And if you want to help us create those, you can do so. There's a couple ways. You can head on over to trekyards.com and click the donate button if you want to give us a small donation. Or if you want to help us on a monthly basis, just the $1, $5, $10, whatever you can afford, you can click the link below to go to our Patreon, and that'll help us on a monthly basis, and that would really be advantageous and helpful, so we'd appreciate it.
Or of course, just share. You know, we do this content for you guys to show new cool designs because we sort of, I guess, live and breathe this stuff. And we want you to appreciate and enjoy all the different designs of all of Trek, and obviously some of that cool older stuff that Stuart likes. A little soft spot in his soul, not just his heart, his soul for it. But yeah, share on Facebook and all different places. Like us on Facebook, like we said, like these videos. Subscribe to this YouTube channel and click the bell notification to ensure you actually see the stuff we are releasing every single week on a Wednesday and a Saturday, guaranteed every single week. And just tell people if you enjoy this ship and just want people to see it. We like doing this sort of content and we hope it's fun to watch.
That's right. So until next time, guys, I'm Captain Foley.
And I am Commander Kungs.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.